Okay, so here's tie-dye in my process. You want to have soda ash to soak your whatever fabric or shirt you're doing in to make the dye bind to the shirt. And then I have this dowel that I use just to push the shirts down into the water. So what I do is I put my washer on low water. It doesn't really matter though. I'm going to control how much water I put in. I only want just the bottom enough to, I'm doing 9 shirts today, so I just want to fill the bottom maybe with, I don't know, 5 or 6 gallons of water, as little as possible, so that I can soak them in the concentrated soda ash. So let me fill this up and I'll show you how it looks. Okay, so this is probably about 2 cups of soda ash right here, and that's what I put down in the washing machine with very little water. And then I've got my stick, and then all I do is sorry for the shake, there's really no good way to do this other than to hold it. So then I just take the stick and I poke the shirts down in there like so. See that? Just to make sure they all get completely covered. And then what you want to do is let these soak for a minimum of 15 minutes. I do anywhere from 15 to 30. And then you want to just run a spin cycle. You do not want to rinse these. You've got to keep that soda ash in all the fibers. And then I'll be back for the next step. Okay, so I spun out all these shirts and they're ready to be tied up, and you're going to need to have a bunch of rubber bands handy for this. You can tie it with string too, but I just use rubber bands. I think it's easier. So there are a lot of videos on YouTube on how to tie your tie-dye shirts. I'm just going to do a simpler one for this example for you today. You want to smooth out your shirt. You want to smooth out your shirt as much as you can. And you want it lined up as well as you can get it. I don't get too wild and upset about this part. A lot of people mark. You can do that if you want. I don't. I just smooth out. And then I take the shirt and fold it in half. I line up the sleeves. But the center line is important because you really do want it to fall down the center of the shirt. I'm going to do a really cool spider type shirt on this one, a spider design. So you don't want to go too low, otherwise it'll be on the person's belly. I like to go up higher here. And you just start twisting, and you really want to twist this as tight as you can get it. And it will automatically start to roll up. I hope I'm not getting my head in the way of. So just keep going, and then I always wear gloves whenever I'm working with chemicals, and these shirts have been soaked in soda ash, which is a chemical, so I just wear gloves. I'd rather be safe than sorry. So here's the sleeves and here's the bottom of the shirt, and you want to just keep spinning, spinning, spinning until it's all really snug together. And it kind of folds itself up like an accordion. Okay, I'd love to get even tighter, and you could do little sections at a time and rubber band off little sections, and depending on the folds I will do that, but for this one, this is what you've got. You take yourself some rubber bands. I like to do this first because they have a tendency to break on you. sometimes. And you just want to go around, and you especially want to catch these corners as much as possible. And I do 4 to 6 rubber bands on this type of a shirt here. And I'm just going to pull this one, kind of capture that. Sometimes you just have to add an extra. I always want to get by with less, but it's actually better to add it because you want the print tight. Okay, let's do one more just to get this part down here. Okay, so then this is what you end up with. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these, and I'll be back. Sorry about my light. My window frame is going across the shirt. But I wanted to show you one other fold here. So I've got this all smoothed out. And then same thing. Just fold it in half. I'm going to link Crispy's video to mine. I linked him in a couple. I got an eco dye where I use tie-dye dye, and he's linked in that one too. He's the person on here who taught me how to do this tie-dye process. Okay, so now I've got this shirt folded in half, and you can get some really cool effects with this fold. I want to start with the sleeve end. And what you're going to do is just go straight up and down, and I'm doing this accordion fold here again. And you can get real technical and go up and down if you want, but I find that it'll do it automatically if you let it. Then what you want to do is, these are kind of big to hold this, so I'm going to twist this around and double it up. These gloves are awful. I got these at Walmart. They have a couple different brands. And I got these, and they are the cheapos, and they are just in my way, and they're too big. They're probably great for painting, which is what they're designed for. But they are not good for this tight work that I'm doing. So I've got one there. And I even want to make this tight again here, okay? But at the same time, I don't want this sticking out, and you'll see why in a while. So I'm going to leave that like that. And I'm going to keep going all the way down the shirt. Okay, and you do want it as tight as you can get it. I am not as strong as I used to be, so I struggle with tie-dyeing. I'm probably to the end of tie-dyeing pretty soon here. Plus, it's so much work. It's a, you know, you're working hard when you're making these. It's not a simple thing, and it's time sensitive too, the way I do it. Okay. There's a lot of steps that have to happen. Okay, so I've got all of that together. Now, this, with my setup, has to fit inside of these bowls I use. So I'm going to wind this around like that. And I'm going to put a rubber band here. I'm going to put another one here just to kind of sink that in. And then I'm going to do one across. To hold it all together. Okay. Hey. So this is my setup out in my garage. I just use a baby pool. And then I you got to keep these suspended so that they don't sit in the pooling, dripping dye. So I ended up getting a bunch of these. I was out looking for colanders and I found these at the Dollar Tree during Halloween. They're little candy bowls. And I bought a bunch of them just so that I could do this. So this is my setup. Okay, I've got one upside down and one right side up. And then here's just a little thing of soda ash. And before I put the ice on, I just hit all the fabric or whatever it is you're dyeing with some soda ash. This will ensure even more that the dye will adhere to the fabric. And the reason why I do this again, even though they've soaked in soda ash, is because the ice has a tendency to pull the dye down with it as it melts. And when that happens, of course, your stuff can end up faded, which is no good because this is hard work. Doing a batch of these is I think it's a lot of work, so I want them to come out good. And I had a bad batch. Let me show you. I've got two more over here in this Tupperware right here. And these were, I forgot the soda ash and thought, oh, it'll be fine. Well, they came out pretty faded. This one's not too bad here. But this one's really bad. And it is so, to me, infuriating to make a batch of tie-dyes brand new and have them look like they're 15, 20 years old. That's no good. So this step's pretty darn important. And of course, with all these chemicals, I always wear a mask. Okay? So let me get my ice ready and pour it in. I'm going to pour ice into all of these to where they're all completely covered. And once I'm done with that, I'll be back. Okay, so now I've got all my ice on, and it's quite important. Ice dyeing is so different from liquid dyeing in the regard that if the dye, you're using powder over the ice, and if the dye hits your fabric without any ice as a buffer, it will just sit there and it will not liquefy and give you the effects. It's kind of a tricky process, ice dyeing. But anyway, I get my tie-dye dyes from a place called Grateful Dyes Inc. and they are on the internet. I hope you can see that. And they are a great company. I'm in Colorado, they're in Colorado, so I just call in my order and go down in person and pick it up. But they ship all over the world, and they are a stand-up company. I love them. So the colors I'm going to do on this batch are, I'm doing black, Concord grape, forest green, plum, and turquoise. So the way I do it is I've got this thing of little plastic spoons here, and I use 1 spoon per color. And I'm going to hold back my black and plum. I'm going to use these on the other side, so we'll do that later. I'll set those aside. I'm going to go ahead and take my Concord grape, and you just want to get in here and kind of push it around a little bit. Definitely wear a mask for this part. I'm going to do a little area on each shirt. Now the way I do this, I do the same color combo for the whole batch. And the reason being is because it's too easy to cross-contaminate your colors. And then you end up, you know, you want some blue over here and you want some orange and yellow over there. Well, blue finds its way over to the orange and yellow shirts. So it's just easier for me to do one batch all the same colors. And of course you can do that. I'm doing this on a large scale because I'm filling a Christmas order. And I've actually had like 40 shirts on this order. So this is batch number 4 for me, and I'm not done yet. A lot, I'll say that, a lot. You only want to do a little area per color, and if you can do a ton of color per shirt, you can fit a lot of colors, but I tend to stick to 3 or 4 on one side and then 1 or 2, I usually do 2 on the other side. So I'm going to toss this aside because I don't want to contaminate my other colors. Alright, now I'm going to go in with some turquoise. So I did the Concord grape. I'm going to set that aside. We'll go in with, I love this turquoise color. It's one of my faves. I'm going to go in, and you can overlap a little bit, but if you go directly over, you're just not going to see it. It's not the best results, okay? Some people put the dye down first and then the ice on top. And I was taught to do it this way, so I'm trained, and I'm like, I would really have to think hard, you know, because I'm thinking about a mask, I'm thinking about ice, I'm thinking about soda ash, I'm thinking about all these things, and by the time it comes to do this, I've already got my ice in. These require, I rinse these really good outside 3 times. And then I put them in the wash and have to rinse them 1 more time because the water out here is cold. It's a complicated deal. I think it is anyway. I love using the pool because I can spin it. Makes it a little easier. I left my dyes out here in the garage over the winter. Don't do that. I figured it would be fine because they're powder. Well, this turquoise is one of them, and it's kind of clumpy now, and it wasn't before. And my colors did not come out as strong, so I had to go buy quite a number of other colors to make this work. And I lost a whole batch, and man, I was not happy, let me tell you. I just was not happy. Okay, so we got the turquoise done, and now we're gonna go into the forest green. This was another color I had out here. And the trick is once this all melts, I'm gonna pull this table out into the sun. And once these all melt off, if there's any spots that are light, I'm gonna re-put ice on them, and I'm going to put more dye because I did not do that to that batch, and boy did I regret it, okay? He really makes some nice stuff, so I definitely recommend checking his stuff out if you want to do this. I'm okay at it, but I'm not the most patient person, so, you know, I think sometimes that works to my advantage, and there's definitely times where it doesn't work to my advantage. It gets me through a lot quicker because I just won't waste time, but then at the same time, I can tend to be a little bit of a hack because of it, you know, so there's a price to pay for whatever you decide to do or be, right? There are serious warnings on these dyes, and I know I've said it, but I'm going to say it again. Protect your lungs and wear a mask. It is not worth getting sick over tie-dye and a few shirts. It's totally not worth it. All right, I'm going to pull this all out into the sun. And then I'm going to do the other side the same exact way, so you don't really need to see that. I'm just going to use different colors. And then what'll happen is I'll do this, these will all melt, and I usually pull the ice off, and once all the dye is in, you'll see that the ice will become clear again before it melts, and then I get rid of the ice at that point because I don't want it to wash out all my soda ash. And then I flip them over, I sprinkle them with soda ash, same exact process, then I take the ice off once it clears. And then I leave these in the garage in their bowls overnight, and I just let them sit and soak in that dye. I don't bag them, I don't do any of that, I just leave them in the bowl. And then I will rinse them tomorrow, and I will film that so that you can see. So I'll see you then. All right, so I got all these shirts untied and hung up on my clothesline. And right now they are very, very dark because I haven't rinsed them at all yet. This one I'm a little concerned with where the white is. It might come out really cool and it might come out really bad. So these two back here are the ones that I dyed a second time, and it looks like they're totally different shirts. So it looks like you can do that. I'll know better when they're rinsed. These, and they will fade quite a bit because they are really, really just totally full of dye. Here's these 5. And I did 9. My clothesline is a few trees. Works great though. And then here's the other 4. There's that one. It's really fun to open them up. It's like Christmas. And then there's the other 2. Got a pile of slash here that I need to haul away, so I can't get right up to that last 2. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse these off, and then I'll show you how they look all rinsed. So here these all are. They've been rinsed twice. And they came out pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with this batch. Just like with the eco dyeing, I'll do a batch and you can't see it. You don't know what's going on, and I always worry. I'm gonna back you up a little. I always worry that it's not gonna come out, you know? And most of the time I'm really pleasantly surprised. I definitely like earth tones more. I'm more of an earth tone color person. But these still really came out pretty darn neat. And they will lighten up even more. Look, this one looks like it's got a flower or some kind of a plant on it. And look at the detail you get from the ice dyeing. You just can't get this from liquid dyeing. And what I'll do is I'm letting these sit for a few because the dye gets disrupted. That one's folded over and I took my gloves off, so I'm gonna leave it. But the dye gets disrupted, so I let them sit a little bit and then I come back in and give them another rinse. This one looks like a dragon to me, a pink dragon. I love this one. See the nostrils and the eyes and the little horns? I think this one came out really neat. I dealt blackjack for years and years, and now my wrists and my hands cramp up a lot, which really bums me out. And the reason I bring that up is because this part right here would have been, it kind of looks like a a weird kind of a bird skull. I don't know, like a comical, cartoony bird skull, but this would have come out much more defined if I just had the strength in my hands. So if you don't have that problem, make sure you tie them as tight as you can. And then look at the detail on the sides of this. I really like how that came out. And this is the kind of detail you get when you get them really tight. So there's the difference. And that just kind of bums me out. I don't know if I'm going to put this in the order. I really like to have really nice stuff when I'm selling it, and I don't want anybody disappointed, so I may re-dye that one. Here's number 8. And there's number 9. And these will lighten up even a bit more too. But all of my tie-dyes, for some reason, they come out like alien bugs and just kind of like, I don't know, alien ships. Weird designs, but really fun art. Once they're dry, I'll go ahead and do a flip through and I'll be back for that. Okay, all these shirts are dried now and ready to be wrapped up for the gifts, and I wanted to give you a quick flip of them. It's still a fun tie-dye, however, see the difference between how tight this is and how cool the sleeves came out versus the center. So this is a perfect example of why you want to get your shirts as tight as you possibly can. I had the same kind of issue with this one, and sometimes you could get them so tight that the dye doesn't get in all the way, but you can always tell if it's not tight enough if the lines are blurred. That's the indication. This to me looks like, we'll call that last one number 1 and this one number 2 if you'd like to comment on what you see. But this one to me looks like an alien centipede. Here's the head, and then these are all the legs going in and out, and this is the belly. So that's what I see. Maybe you see something totally different. I'd love to hear what you think. I really like how the sleeves came out in this shirt too. It's really a fun shirt. And I put a lot of forest green in this batch, and it showed up beautifully on this shirt, but it didn't show up as much as I would have liked it to in the others. So there's number 2. Here's the bottom. It just gets even more pronounced. Okay. Here's number 3. This one I like too. It came out, it almost looks to me like some kind of, like, you know how you fold the paper to make snowflakes? This to me looks like one section of a snowflake. But I got a lot of forest green color in this shirt too, down on the bottom, which I'll show you in a sec. I like the detail in this one. It came out pretty darn neat. It's got a lot of detail and stuff going on in it. And then here's all that forest green down here at the bottom. That one's pretty cool. So that's 3. To me and probably a bunch of people, that looks like a pot plant. It also, to me, looks like the bottom of a spaceship. And these are the lights shining down, these neon greens. I don't know, that's kind of what I see with it. And then here's this, some black. This is actually the forest green, I think, right in here, because I don't remember. I think I put a tiny bit of black in these, but not much. And then a lot of detail on the bottom. Pretty neat one. I like this one too. That's number 4. Now this one I had dyed before. It was part of that batch that came out really bad, and I wanted to see if I could dye over it again and if it would come out better. And it came out okay. This to me looks like a dragon head. Here's the nostrils and the eye sockets, and then it's got like little horns coming out here and kind of a spiked skull, and then horns tipped up here. And this looked really neat when I was rinsing it, but once you get through the full rinse process, you lose some of the dye, which makes me sad because this was bright, bright purple, and now it's super faded, which is a bummer to me. That goes back to what I was saying about even if you have powdered tie-dye, if you live somewhere where you have cold winters, don't leave your tie-dye powder out in the garage or outside during the winter, because something happened to my dyes from doing that. It came out kind of cool, but it looks faded and it doesn't look brand new. That's what I get so irritated about when you don't get the crisp lines. They kind of look old. They look a little old and a little dingy. Here's number 6. This one came out really bright and neat. I really like how it came out. It's pretty fun. Ice dyeing gives you all these wild little variations that you just can't get, like all this up here. You cannot get that same look with liquid dye. Here's the bottom of this shirt. It's got a lot of forest green in it. So this is one of the better ones as far as detail goes. This one's got some really cool detail too. This is the one I folded in half and then did a straight up and down accordion fold. And I like these because you get a lot of really interesting patterns going right down the middle. A lot of times you can get patterns that look like bones. This kind of looks a little like a spine right here to me. But you get some really neat kaleidoscope type looks. Here's the bottom. Number 8. This one came out really neat. I like this one very much. A lot of detail. Now this shirt here is called a Missy tee, and you can buy these through the Grateful Dyes, and they flare out at the bottom, and this is the kind I like to wear. They give a little flare so they have a nice accentuating cut for the girls. This one really came out fun. And this is the last one of that batch. This is a Missy tee as well. And this one is a extra large too. And this one was dyed again. This was dyed previous and it came out really faded because of my dyes being in the garage all winter. And it looked terrible. It looked like an old dingy shirt. So I thought I would try dyeing again, and it worked, I think, beautifully. And it picked up, this one had a lot of orange and yellow, bright green in it, and it picked up, it kept some of those colors intact. The blue is really fun. I like this part very much. And then here's the bottom. So if you want to do this and you just want to do fabric, you can get a lot of these designs by just folding them the same way you would fold a tie-dye shirt. So I hope you give this a shot, and thanks for stopping by. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button below and hit the bell notification and come on back for more fun videos. Thanks for joining me and have a great day.